I parked my 2010 Toyota Camry between my brother James's Ferrari and my sister Victoria's Bentley, already knowing what was coming. The annual Thompson family barbecue was more of a wealth competition than a family gathering, and I'd been cast as the perpetual loser. Straightening my simple black dress, a custom-made Versace that they'd assume was from a department store, I grabbed the bottle of wine I'd brought. It was a $3,000 Chateau Margaux. Not that they'd notice. They'd already decided everything about me based on my car. Sophia. My mother's voice carried across the driveway of her sprawling mansion. You're late, and oh, you're still driving that thing. I forced a smile. Hello, Mother. Inside, the usual suspects were already assembled. James showing off his new Rolex to our cousin Emma. Victoria loudly discussing her recent shopping spree in Milan. And my father critiquing everyone's life choices while sipping 25-year-old scotch. Still slumming it at that dealership job? James called out using the nickname I hated. If he only knew that my dealership job was actually my own company, Thompson Luxury Motors, currently valued at $2.8 billion. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. How's the car running? Victoria added with fake concern. I know a great dealer if you're finally ready to upgrade. Though you might need to check your credit score first. I set my wine bottle on the kitchen counter, watching as my mother immediately replaced it with something from her own collection. My $3,000 bottle would probably end up in her cooking. Julie is just practical, my mother said diplomatically. Not everyone needs luxury items to be happy. The way she said practical made it sound like a terminal illness. I checked my phone, confirming what I already knew. My company's stock had jumped another 20% today after our latest acquisition. The transaction that would shock my entire family was nearly complete. Did you hear about James's new venture? My father jumped in. He's opening a luxury car customization shop. And Victoria just bought her third Ferrari. That's how you build success. That's wonderful, I said, taking a seat at the massive outdoor dining table. Congratulations. Emma leaned forward, her designer dress probably worth more than what they thought I made in a month. Sophia dear, I know a great financial advisor. You really should start thinking about your future. My future. I suppressed a smile, thinking about the meeting I'd had this morning with my board of directors. We'd just acquired the largest luxury car dealership chain in the country, including the very shop James was planning to open. Thanks, Emma. I'll think about it. The barbecue proceeded as usual. James detailed his plans for his customization shop, not knowing I already owned the building. Victoria bragged about her car collection, unaware that her latest Ferrari had been sourced through one of my subsidiaries. My mother expertly directed the conversation to highlight everyone's successes while glossing over my apparent lack thereof. Sophia is doing her best, she'd say whenever anyone asked about me. She's always been different. Different because I'd chosen to build something from scratch instead of flaunting inherited wealth. Because I'd lived modestly while secretly growing my company into an automotive empire. Because I'd never felt the need to prove my worth through flashy cars and designer labels. At least tell me you're dating someone successful, Aunt Patricia prodded. You're not getting any younger, dear. I thought about Michael, the brilliant CFO I'd been seeing for 6 months. They'd probably be shocked to learn he was worth over $100 million from his own ventures. But like me, he preferred keeping a low profile. Just focusing on work right now, I replied. Victoria rolled her eyes. Of course you are. Though what kind of work can you really be doing at what's the dealership called again? Thompson Motors, I said quietly, watching their faces for any sign of recognition. None came. They had no idea that the largest luxury car retailer in the country shared their name because of me. Never heard of it, James declared. Must be one of those budget places. If he'd bothered to read any automotive industry news, he'd know that Thompson Motors had revolutionized luxury car sales. We'd been featured in Forbes twice this year alone. My phone buzzed. A message from my assistant, Sarah. Final papers signed. The announcement goes live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Your family's car titles have all been transferred to the company's holdings. I smiled, thinking of all the pink slips now legally under my control. Tomorrow they'd learn that their precious cars weren't just financed through Thompson Motors. They were now company property. Something funny? James asked, noticing my expression. Just thinking about tomorrow, I said. It's going to be an interesting day. Right? Victoria smirked. Another exciting day of selling used cars. If they only knew that by this time tomorrow, every luxury car they owned would legally belong to me. That their precious status symbols were about to become company assets. That their quiet sister with her junk Toyota had built an empire right under their noses. More wine, my mother offered, pointedly ignoring the bottle I'd brought. No thank you, I said, checking my watch. Actually, I should head out. Big day tomorrow. Of course, James laughed. Those used cars won't sell themselves. I stood up, smoothing my designer dress. You're right, brother dear. Tomorrow's all about ownership. They had no idea how right I was. The next morning I arrived at Thompson Motors headquarters early, not the small dealership my family thought I worked at, but our gleaming 40-story corporate tower downtown. I'd chosen my outfit carefully, no more hiding my success. My Chanel suit and Louboutin heels reflected who I really was, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar automotive empire. Miss Thompson, Sarah greeted me, tablet in hand. Your family's vehicles have all been processed. The Valet team is ready at your mother's house, and the media has been notified of today's announcement. I smiled, remembering how James had laughed at my junk car yesterday. Has my brother arrived at his new shop location yet? Yes, ma'am. He's currently arguing with security about accessing the building. Apparently, he doesn't understand why his keys don't work. Of course they didn't work. I'd changed the locks last night after the acquisition was finalized. The building, like his Ferrari and everything else, now belonged to Thompson Motors. Any word from Victoria? She tried to take her Bentley for a morning drive. The valet informed her the car needed to remain on premises per the new owner's instructions. He's not happy. I checked my watch. 8:45 a.m. In 15 minutes the announcement would go live. My family would learn that Thompson Motors had acquired not just their cars and properties, but every major luxury car dealership in the city. My phone buzzed with angry text. James, something's wrong with my building access. Fix this now. Victoria, why can't I take my car out? Who's this new owner? Mom, darling, there seem to be valets at our house claiming they work for Thompson Motors. Do you know anything about this? I ignored them all. They'd have their answers soon enough. At exactly 9 a.m. the news broke. My assistant projected the headlines onto my office wall. Thompson Motors acquires luxury auto empire. Mysterious revealed. Sophia Thompson transforms industry. Billion-dollar automotive dynasty under new leadership. The calls started immediately. First James, then Victoria, then a stream of family members who suddenly remembered my existence. I let them all go to voicemail. Miss Thompson, Sarah appeared at my door. Your mother just arrived in the lobby with your siblings. They're causing quite a scene. Perfect timing, I said, standing up. Have security escort them to the executive conference room. And Sarah? Make sure the valet brings up all their pink slips. I took the private elevator to the conference floor, thinking about all the family dinners where they'd mocked my career choices. All the BBQs where they'd laughed at my modest car. All the times they'd dismissed me as the family failure. The conference room doors opened to chaos. James was red-faced, shouting about his building access. Victoria was in tears over her kidnapped Bentley. My mother sat shell-shocked, her perfect composure cracking. What is the meaning of this? James demanded when he saw me. Why are you even here? I walked to the head of the table, enjoying their confusion. I work here, James. Actually, I own here. Own? Victoria's voice cracked. What do you mean, own? I pressed a button and the wall screens came to life, displaying Thompson Motors' corporate structure, with my name clearly at the top. Welcome to Thompson Motors headquarters, I said calmly. I'm the CEO and founder. Have been for the past 7 years while you all thought I was just selling used cars. That's impossible, my mother whispered. Is it? I nodded to Sarah, who began distributing folders. Inside you'll find the ownership papers for all your vehicles. As of 9 a.m. today, they're company property. That includes your new shop building, James, and your precious Ferrari collection, Victoria. The silence was deafening. You can't do this, James finally managed, his face pale as he flipped through the documents. These are our cars. Actually, I pulled out another stack of papers. They were all financed through Thompson Motors subsidiaries. Did you never wonder why your loan terms were so favorable? Why you got instant approval despite your questionable credit history? Victoria's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she read. But my Bentley. The one you bragged about at the barbecue yesterday? Purchased through Kingston Luxury Motors, a Thompson Motors company. Just like your Ferrari collection and James's new venture. My mother found her voice. Sophia, darling, surely we can discuss this. We're family. Family. I laughed softly. Like you treated me as family all these years? When you mocked my junk car. When you dismissed my career as beneath you. I walked to the window, looking out over the city where my company's properties dotted the skyline. That Toyota you all laughed at? I chose to drive it. I could have any car in our inventory, but I wanted to build something real, not just show off wealth I hadn't earned. But your job at the dealership, James started, was a cover. I wanted to learn every aspect of the business from the ground up. While you were bragging about your cars, I was building an empire. While you were flaunting wealth, I was creating it. Sarah entered with a small box, placing it on the conference table. The valet brought these up, Miss Thompson. Inside were all their car keys lined up neatly with their pink slips. What are you going to do? Victoria asked, her voice small. That depends. I sat down at the head of the table. Thompson Motors is implementing new policies about personal use of company vehicles. Employees need to demonstrate responsibility, work ethic, and proper appreciation for the assets they're entrusted with. Employees. James sputtered. We're your family. And now you're my employees if you want to keep your cars. James, you can manage the customization shop you plan to open, but as an actual manager, not just an owner's son. Victoria, our marketing department could use someone with your social media expertise, starting at entry level, of course. Entry level? Victoria looked horrified. But I'm your sister. Exactly. And it's time you learned what real work looks like. My mother, always the diplomat, tried again. Darling, this is all very impressive, but surely we can come to some family arrangement. Like the arrangements you made all these years? I interrupted. The family dinners where you showcased everyone's success but mine? The constant reminders of how I was wasting my potential. I opened my laptop, displaying Thompson Motors' current market valuation. My wasted potential built a $2.8 billion company. That Toyota you mocked? It taught me humility, patience, and the value of looking beyond appearances. Lessons this family desperately needs to learn. The next hour was a blur of negotiations, realizations, and adjustments. James, faced with losing his Ferrari collection, agreed to actually work for his position. Victoria, after some tears, accepted the marketing role. My mother sat quietly, perhaps finally seeing her youngest daughter clearly for the first time. One more thing, I said as they prepared to leave. About my junk car. I pressed a button and the garage-level camera feed appeared on screen. There, in my private collection, sat some of the rarest and most valuable cars in the world. That Toyota isn't my only car. It's just the one I choose to drive because it reminds me of where I started and what I built. Something to think about while you're earning back your driving privileges. As they left, shell-shocked and humbled, Sarah brought in the morning's financial reports. Thompson Motors stock had jumped another 15% on news of the acquisitions. Should I have their cars returned to them? She asked. Not yet, I replied, thinking of all the family gatherings where they'd flaunted their wealth while dismissing mine. Let them drive company cars for a while. Basic models. They need to learn the difference between owning something and earning it. Over the next few months, things changed dramatically. James, stripped of his automatic success, actually proved to be a decent manager when forced to work for it. Victoria's social media skills, when properly channeled, helped our marketing department thrive. Even my mother learned to see success differently. My Toyota remained in my usual parking spot, between spaces reserved for cars worth millions. Employees loved it. It became a symbol of our company culture, a reminder that true success isn't about what you drive but what you build. 1 year later, at another family barbecue, this one held at my estate, I watched my siblings arrive in their company cars, now earned through actual work rather than entitlement. My mother had stopped trying to hide my wine selections, and my father finally asked about my business with genuine interest. You know, James said as we watched the sunset from my terrace, I never understood why you drove that Toyota when you could have any car in the world. I smiled, thinking of all the lessons the past year had taught them. Some people need expensive cars to feel successful. I needed to build something meaningful to be successful. That Toyota helped me stay focused on what mattered. And now? Victoria asked, her designer labels replaced by a more modest style that suited her better. Now? I looked out over my empire, built not from inherited wealth but from vision and determination. Now I drive it because it reminds me that true power isn't about what you show but what you know. And sometimes the quietest car in the parking lot belongs to the person who owns all the others. The next morning I drove my Toyota to headquarters, passing the luxury cars in our showroom. Each one told a story of status and wealth, but my junk car told a better one, about building success from the ground up, about proving yourself right instead of proving others wrong. As I parked in my usual spot, I thought about success and its many definitions. My family had always measured it in cars and labels, in visible displays of wealth. But real success, I'd learned, was about building something meaningful, even if no one sees it coming. The valet nodded respectfully as I handed him my Toyota keys. He knew, like everyone else now did, that the most powerful person in the building drove the most modest car. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about taking away their cars, it's about showing them what real success looks like. And sometimes, just sometimes, it looks like a 2010 Toyota Camry parked between a row of Ferraris, driven by the woman who owns them all.